like to use categories. And my rule for categories is, and this is just personal preferences and SEO thing, is every post should be in one category only.
Oh.
That's just my preference.
Yeah.
It's
So
just
we do both. We do
Okay.
categories and we do tags, and we actually expanded our categories to be a little bit more topic specific.
Okay.
But most of our posts, so we our two main categories, so like the primary is always either professional resource or parent resource.
Okay.
And then after that, we categorize it further. But it always falls into one of those two. So if you're saying like that's useful, but the stupid tags that I have to sit and like be like parents, autism, blah, blah, type it. If that doesn't make a difference, I'm just gonna stop doing that because I don't like doing it anyway.
It could be causing problems, is what it could be doing. So think about it as ways of organizing your content. If you use, like I prefer to use categories to say, every post I ever publish is in one category: parent resource, child resource. It's either one or the other. It can't be both, right? In my hypothetical universe. Maybe another category be like company news. Okay, well, it's probably not a parent resource if it's company news or, whatever. So that we have three categories. Now, I might use tags if I need to divide up that into further dimensions and maybe dimensions that cross those. So it's like, you have a couple locations now. So maybe add a tag per location. So this is news for this location, or this is for parents in this same location. And so a tag kind of organizes things differently. So what it does is it makes it really easy for a user to say, I'm interested in only things for parents. And you click on the parent category, and there's a list of only things from the parents. If you are only interested in child resources, you can click on that. But tags allow you to have a secondary dimension, but with which you can organize your site. That is what tags do. So most cases, people don't need tags. The way it can cause problems is it can create a real duplicate content problem within your own site. So let's say you had a tag for New Jersey and a tag for NJ, which is the postal code for New Jersey. The NJ and the New Jersey tag pages, when you click to only view posts by that, might have the exact same listing of articles, and therefore would have the exact same content. And therefore, Google has to decide, do I want to use the NJ or the New Jersey one? We don't want Google to decide. We want to tell Google what to do. So that's why we wouldn't want to do that. So first thing is, maybe we stop using tags until we need to know to use them, right? So yay, look, you've got a whole bunch of free time now. Hopefully you haven't been spending that much time on tags, but
oh no, it's
good.
Just like an annoying part of posting the blog is sitting and being like, oh god, what are some tags I should use? And now I find out I really don't need to do that at all. I mean, that's like, it's good news, but it's also like 30 seconds of annoyance, right? Because I can't believe I had to do
so great.
before.
You've been relieved of 30 seconds of annoying. You're welcome. But the WordPress internal search feature is actually pretty good, and it doesn't need those tags to display searches. For instance, on Curious Ants, you can do a search for, we just did a search for no follow. And I don't use tags at all, but it found several instances of the word no follow in the content of the Curious Ants website.
Is it potentially problematic enough that I should go into past posts and remove tags?
So what do you do when you remove a page from the website?
Redirect.
You redirect it. So every page you remove, you'll need to have a 301 redirect to send that URL to
just from removing the tag,
because that page will no longer exist.
Oh, no.
Okay. So here's what I would do to assess the impact. Okay. Log into your Google Search Console. Go to, let's see if I can pull, I don't want to share my screen. Go into Google Search Console. Let me see if I can find this. I want to make sure I get it right. Go to your coverage report on the left-hand side. There's a treasure trove of information in here. This is where Google might tell you they're having trouble with parts of your website. There's a lot of information. What you want to select.
Oh, do you want me to share my screen?
If you don't mind sharing your data. There, you should be able to share your screen now. All right, coverage report. Okay, scroll to the top of this coverage report. There we go. So we're not at this point for this conversation interested in your one error. Congratulations, you got one error. Okay, moving on. Touch the excluded. Yeah, okay. These are pages that Google has decided it's not going to include in the search index.
Mm-hmm.
So this is basically Google saying, we are not going to serve these to people.
Yeah, I know. I think we a few months ago went through this, and because I remember we established somewhat shockingly that we really don't have any pages that need to be indexed that aren't.
Mm-hmm. Right, which is great. See how it says, stop moving around.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Duplicate, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down. Duplicate, submitted URL not selected as canonical. Scroll down a little bit more. Duplicate without user selected canonical. You remember I said one of the problems is with tags that are a little overzealous is we create duplicate content.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a duplicate without user selected canonical, and I have an article on Curious Ants all about literally every one of these error messages to give you a little bit more detail. But the short version is, we've talked about canonical tags where there's a way to tell Google, hey, this is the version of the page you should be looking at. We know there might be other versions of this page, but look at this one. So the duplicate without user selected canonical means, hey, we've determined there are several copies of a page and we don't know which one you want us to serve. You have 0 of those. So, hey, great. That's great. You have 33 that are duplicate submitted URL, not selected as canonical. So click on that. And you scroll down and we can see which pages Google thinks are duplicates. And so you've submitted pages to them, probably through your XML sitemap. And Google said, you know what? Even though you've told us this page is here, we are not going to serve it.
These are all workshops. So honestly, this isn't bad because you can't even access these pages unless you purchase the workshop.
Great. Then that's no big deal. And you can actually click on them. You can inspect them, all that.
Yeah, because lessons and quizzes, they're all part of workshops.
Great. So if it's doing what you want it to do, no problem, right? No party, no foul.
Yeah.
You can click on the word coverage at the top of this page. Yeah, that one. And go back to excluded and scroll. It conveniently lists it by an order. Crawled, currently not indexed, might be something to look at. I don't see anything here that's telling me you have a problem that's being caused by this. I would just stop wasting your time doing that unless you feel there is a secondary means to organize your content to make it useful for your people. Yeah. Yeah. This kind of goes to a point where when we set up a blog, it's probably a good idea to think strategically about how we're going to organize, what we're going to write about in our blog, and how we're going to organize the content. My personal preference as a rule, everything goes in one category and one category only. And also as a rule, again, not a requirement, but my personal rule is I only create another category when I know at least 2 or 3 articles will be described by that category. Because I don't want a category with 1 article in it.
Right.
Right. I use that rule with tags too, but most people don't need to use tags because it's just a way of organizing. Think about it as a way of making it easy for people. So people interested in one parenting resource might be interested in a bunch of other parenting resources.
Yeah, and
so
it's
great.
Actually,
look at them.
What's interesting is prior we only had a couple categories, and what we did was kind of an overhaul of that since we have more content now. Because there are some things that kind of cross the divide between parent and professional.
Yeah.
So this allows that, and so maybe that was the point where we could have stopped with the tags. Is really we expanded our categories, because that seems to be the better like organizational unit as far as that goes. But even still, we only have 2 main like landing pages. Like we have the parent resource blog landing page and the professional resource blog landing page, and like everything else would be search related because we don't. So like say we have like a dozen different categories, we don't have a dozen different like clickable pages to land on. Does that make sense? So
yeah,
I hope that's right.
Yeah.
/ good.
Yeah. You know, I feel like this is one of these things that I don't know who started telling people tagging helps your SEO, but I want to smack them. Like it really is such bad advice. It's such a waste of time. And I keep hearing people say this. I'm like, where's everybody getting this from? Like,
There's
where
a
is
lot of
everybody
people I
hearing
want to
this? I
smack
don't
these
know.
days. So
Yeah. Well, I hope that saves some trouble at least.
every little bit counts.